I saw a time when people just mention his name like this, people start singing must go, Kasongo, all those. So Ruto's presidency becomes so ridiculed. Can you imagine a man is fighting for his life in a hospital bed? Probably because of seizures, chest pains, or could be a heart attack, and you still go ahead and impeach that person. How heartless can you be as a human being, honestly? William Ruto is honestly frustrated, and I think people are now even doubting his mental capacity. I mean, people are asking those questions, that is he actually well upstairs, So by the time people start questioning, your mental capacity as a president, I mean, you're in trouble.
Well, a very good day to you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Candy Talk here on Herman Manyora's YouTube channel. My name is Evan Sokinyi, and I'm always glad to bring you up to date with comprehensive analysis of all that is taking place in our country, Kenya, and across the borders. And of course, this fine morning, I'm joined here by the party leader of Third Way Alliance Party, Honorable Dr. Ekuru Aukot. Wakili, how are you?
I'm very well, Evans.
It has been quite a while. I remember the last time that we had a conversation with you at this particular moment in time. Things were a little bit better, so to say. so far, if you look at things, because we are almost ending the year, this is the second year, and we are getting into 2025. We are here progressing with the President Ruto's administration. We want to look at the state of the nation according to you as Kenyans approach the festive season, and let us just look at some of the government's decisions that have been made so far. And you tell me, so far, are you convinced that perhaps President William Ruto is actually doing his best to get this country on the right trajectory, as he puts it?
Well, to be honest with you, I think one of the things that has emerged, Kenyans are actually assessing President William Ruto's presidency, or the manner in which he's running government, vis-a-vis the promises that he made in the 2022 general election.
Yes.
He promised a lot. I think the truth be told that Ruto overpromised without even knowing actually that how he's going to achieve that. For example, there's a lot of hullabaloo around some of his promises. The cost of living has gone up, unemployment, state of the economy. And when you talk about the state of the nation, Evans, we need to talk about the state of the persons. Of Kenyans. I mean, if pick, for example, issues to do with health, cost of electricity, it's affecting the person. So that cumulatively becomes the state of the nation. So Kenyans are very disgruntled. Kenyans now have baptized Ruto, given him a new name called Kasongo, or Ruto must go. They are singing it everywhere, in bars, in stadia, the diaspora. I mean, there is general rejection of President William Ruto, because now people realize that this man is not truthful. He's been lying. As a matter of fact, I've said it before, not even not just, I've said it in many shows that I've done, that the best William Ruto could actually do, if he cannot stop the lying, at least reduce them. Because President Ruto has just become a lying person. Now people, I think this is probably the most hated president in the history of Kenya today. I mean, he can even do just random interview on the street, and people will tell you they don't trust him. They have lost trust, and when you lose trust with people, you also lose legitimacy, because then people will not legitimately respect you. Because Ruto came with the narrative that he's a son of a pauper, he's a hustler, I'm just like one of you, I want to kick out the dynasties,
yes.
And he hammered hard on that. But look, eventually, where did he go back to? He's gone back to those same dynasties. Not too, I think, over a week ago, he was meeting with William Ruto.
Uhuru
Kenyatta. Shortly thereafter, some envoys were meeting him. Before that, he had met with Raila. He has incorporated Raila into government. So the general view of Ruto's presidency is that he's a man who did not have a plan in the first place. Okay, he has captured parliament. Betrayed his own deputy president, Rigathi Gachagua. He's come out as a very dishonest man, because he knew that if it wasn't for Gachagua, he could not get the block vote of Central Kenya. Not that people like Gachagua. In fact, when I talk to my friends, say, we don't like Gachagua. But this betrayal, this kind of betrayal, is actually portrayed President William Ruto as the most hurtful human being, politician in the history of Kenya. And this is generally what people feel out there. I know people will not tell him. And some of his people lie. I was in a meeting at the Pastoralist Leadership Forum the other day in Wajir. And one of his ministers comes and lies blatantly. I mean, it's like Ruto's lies are now rubbing onto everybody he works with. This minister said that there are 3 success stories of William Ruto. And I wish your viewers would actually, discuss this. He said, number 1, Ruto has united the country. And he had the audacity to say, Kibaki tried it, he failed. Uhuru Kenyatta tried it, he failed. But Ruto has succeeded in uniting Kenya. Honestly, I don't think so.
Now, are we talking about Aden Duale at this particular
Aden Duale.
Okay.
Aden Duale came and said that. So, I will say this. Perhaps he was right by saying that he has united Kenyans against Ruto. That if that is the unity he's talking about, fine. But not a peaceful unity. Unity where Kenyans are now feeling peaceful. Kenyans are disgruntled across and against Ruto. Number 2, he said that the Shah is a success story. I know of personal stories of guys who have lost their relative since NHIF was scrapped. Many people are blaming the president for that. But this minister had the audacity to say, actually, Shah is a success story. Now everybody will be enjoying. Then the third one, which is again another very fat lie, that affordable housing now is a reality in Kenya today. You know, that even in the constituencies, like such as the northern part of Kenya, you know, that now even new pastoralists will enjoy affordable housing. How is that a success story? Even here, even just alone in Nairobi, people, I mean, I have invested in my own mortgage. Now you're telling me to build a house for other people. What is affordable about it in an economy that is actually collapsing? You know, Ruto claims that the economy has grown. But ask anybody on the street, that's a lie. Okay. So if you really analyze the presidency of William Ruto, and of course the other thing that has really emerged openly about his presidency is that he's become a stooge of the globalists. Yeah, you know, he came with this idea of climate change, or propagating, which is okay. It's a good idea. But who is driving that? You know, the issue of digital IDs for Kenyans. You know, all those things. Now, I've never seen in the history of Kenya where you, as a Kenyan, your ID expires. My 18-year-old daughter turned 18 this year. She went and took an ID. Do you know her ID is expiring in 2030?
Yes, I am aware of that.
Yeah. I mean, so what about me now? Kids' IDs expire. My ID does not have an expiry date. I don't know whether yours has an expiry.
Mine doesn't have one.
It doesn't have. Many people. So what kind of system are we creating? Okay. Today, you have I mean, even during Moi's time, they had times of Moi. You never hear a Kenyan say, I'm not able to get a passport. You never hear that the printing machine has actually collapsed. You know, you increased the prices of a burial permit or a birth certificate. I mean, what is that economy? What value is there in just giving somebody a burial permit and then charging them for it? Why, for example, take money from people to process a passport and then you say, the machine has broken down, or we don't have enough booklet? Then why did you charge for it, for the booklet? You know, so many things have gone wrong in this government. But I think, of course, the epic of it all is the cost of living. Political betrayal, and now him going back to the same people that he fought so hard, regrouping with them. And it means that, total compromise. The opposition is compromised, and that's all the work of William Ruto. Okay.
Wakili, I need to get this from your point of view, and of course our viewers here need to understand what you make of the certain political developments that we've witnessed ever since. Remember, we had the Gen Z revolution, and that actually culminated into the formation of the so-called broad-based government. The first time we saw quite a number of people were sacked from the cabinet and then replaced in by the so-called experts from the opposition side. And then we also saw the president now reach out to the former PM, Raila Odinga. And the other day, as you've rightly put it, he was at Ichaweri trying to make amends with the fourth president of Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta. Looking at all these political developments so far, and even including the impeachment of Rigathi Gachagua, would you say that perhaps the president here was making some right choices so far? Even if you look at the performance of the broad-based kind of regime that they're talking about, what do you then make? Are they yielding? Are they helping Kenyans in any way?
First of all, to the Gen Z movement, Ruto will go down in history as probably the presidency, a government where a lot of deaths were meted within a very short time per capita. Yeah, we are back to the question of disappearances, abductions. You know, even the other day, Kizza Besigye, the opposition leader from Uganda, was abducted in our own soil, and obviously it was being he must have gotten the assistance from our own government. You remember the story of the 4 Turkish nationals,
yes,
who've been really investing so much in education, Light Academy, for many years, doing a lot of humanitarian work, or abducted. And you have got a PS saying that we have received assurances from the government of Turkey that they'll be treated humanely. I mean, Turkey. I mean, we're forgetting the Ochalans were actually slaughtered in a consulate. You know, we're forgetting about the many disappearances of political detainees disappearing in Turkey. What kind of government are we? I think we really have a government that does not seem to have direction at all. Now, to this political maneuvering, it tells you that William Ruto is a president who is in a panic mode. Yeah, he just wants to survive. Like right now, if you look at the treatment of Gachagua, for example, it has in a way united the mountain region because of the manner in which one of their own was treated. Because the truth for the matter is, when the Kikuyus woke up that morning to go and cast their vote,
yes,
they are not voting for Ruto. Maybe some voted for Ruto, but a majority ticked that box of Ruto Gachagua because of Gachagua. That's the reality. Yeah, and honestly, if Gachagua wasn't, and Ruto knew it, that Gachagua only got, I think, 1 vote during the nomination for a deputy president against Kithure Kindiki. But now he's betrayed all that. Kindiki is not accepted. In fact, I saw a time when people just mention his name like this, people start singing must go, Kasongo, you know, all those. You know, so Ruto's presidency becomes so ridiculed across the board. I was in Kampala last month attending the East Africa Law Society conference, and everybody just mocking our president. They're not calling him Kasongo from around the region. He's bringing about 7 countries, with the new entrant being Ethiopia. You know, so you have the 6 countries in the East Africa community, and you have got all these lawyers, of almost 1,000 of them, and everybody just ridiculing and saying, "What happened to your president? What happened?" And you see, that becomes the image of Kenya. Yeah, I mean, I can't forget also his visit to the United States in May. When he was so excited to sit on another man's chair. And you know, my American friends tell me, look, your president is being a cartoon. How can he be so excited to sit on another man's chair? So what? And you see, Biden was there just saying, look, this is an African leader. Yeah, President William Ruto is being ridiculed across. Yeah.
Step into Brooklyn Boutique in Juja today at JB Stores, first floor in Juja. Discover the latest women's fashion in jewelry, clothes, shoes, bags, and purses. Call us today at 0721 348 629. Brooklyn Boutique, where style meets elegance.
Do you therefore suggest, or rather say, that the kind of decision that the president made to actually have his deputy Rigathi Gachagua impeached was ill-informed, and therefore even his replacement here cannot actually help him, because according to him, he was lonely. He was not getting the support that he actually needs from his deputy president. In short, he is telling us here that that particular office was not functional at all.
No, I don't think that's true. You see, let's compare is being a deputy to Uhuru Kenyatta for 10 years. Yeah. In fact, if there is one person who insulted his president most, is actually William Ruto when he was deputy to Uhuru Kenyatta. Listen, we are not born in mass. We are in this country. We know how he disrespected Uhuru, you know, calling him a Mulevi, all that kind of things. All these stories we know, just like the way he's calling Raila Muganga, Mzee Kitendawili, you know, all those things. But Uhuru Kenyatta tolerated him nonetheless. Yeah. He didn't subject him to the kind of mistreatment that William Ruto subjected to Gachagua. Can you imagine? A man is fighting for his life in a hospital bed, probably because of seizures, chest pains, or could be a heart attack, and you still go ahead and impeach that person. How heartless can you be as a human being, honestly? And yet, there was no emergency. Yeah. There was no emergency. When the Senate was sitting as a committee of the whole, it did not have a time frame. It's only the select committee in Senate that a 10-day time frame. So what President William Ruto has actually done is even trying to change the constitution. You can see some of the things that he's trying to sponsor through his lieutenants like Nachirargei and the rest about the term limits and all that.
Yes.
You know, but again, me, I'm not surprised because this president opposed the constitution vehemently when we were passing it in 2010. He led a no campaign against the constitution. So he doesn't really believe in the rule of law. And we've seen also disobedience of court orders. I'm sure you are aware that I did a court case against the deployment of our policemen to Haiti.
Yes.
And in fact, that matter is coming up today because we have an application for contempt. William Ruto did all that on instigation of the United States of America. He forgot, he could not do due diligence, and we had warned him that, listen, look at the history of Haiti. The French were there, the Canadians, the Americans, they have messed that country big time. The UN messed that country big time. In fact, they even introduced cholera and killed many people. So why would that black nation now be used as a pawn to fight those globalists war? And we warned him, told him, even according to our constitution, and of course we won that petition under Article 140, you cannot deploy the National Police Service outside the boundaries of Kenya. Certainly not in the way in which he did. And the National Police Service Act was very clear that at sections 107 to 109, that there has to be a reciprocal agreement between us and that requesting country. Okay? And that request must come from a duly elected president, not a prime minister.
Yes.
Yeah? From a president. Haiti did not have a president after the killing of Juvenal Moise in July 2021. That man who was there as a prime minister did not have those powers. And we won that case because clearly. And then often our own law says that you must gazette so that the people of Kenya must now know that our National Police Service is being deployed outside Kenya. Okay? So that the people of Kenya are informed. Ruto ignored all that and went ahead and so he's made some of the very wrong decisions in his presidency. And I don't know. I get the feeling that from reading the mood of Kenyans, they think 2027 is too far. And you know, the Gen Z movement actually shook him until he ran to Mzee wa Kitendawili, to the Muganga. The Muganga is the one actually who saved him because Raila actually betrayed the Gen Zs. Because I know a section of the Gen Z movement that actually went to see him and told him that we would like your guidance on how to go about this. The next thing, Raila is announcing that we are ready to talk. And the Gen Zs have said it clearly. We are not going to talk to somebody who killed us. We are not going to talk to somebody who kidnaps us. We are not going to talk to somebody who caused disappearances on us. We are not going to talk to somebody who lies to us that the cost of living is better. What are we talking about? But Raila betrayed that cause because at the end of the day, these individuals are cut from the same cloth. They come a long way. And unfortunately, this is the situation our country is now being subjected to. It's like Kenya cannot move forward without certain names. And we really thought, I honestly believed that William Ruto has helped us do one thing. That to end these fake political dynasties of the Odingas and the Kenyattas. Yeah? And I also believe that with him as the president, there was now a political opportunity actually to transit to anybody else. In fact, the other day, I don't know whether you saw somebody conducting a poll. They put a dog and William Ruto. And actually the dog won. Yeah? I mean, that is how ridiculous. It's there on social media. Yeah. So imagine that is the extent to which now Kenyans have become so mad with this government. They don't trust it at all. I mean, like if you look at the first reshuffle, the cabinet reshuffle. You know, you fire the entire guys, then you bring them back, some of them back again. So why did you fire them in the first place if they were that good? Why reappoint them? You know, without explanation or without, no accountability whatsoever.
Okay. Wakili, I think on that very note about reshuffling or rather firing the cabinet members and bringing some on board resulted into what now is famously or infamously known as the Broadbase.
It is bread-based government. Bread.
You talk of bread-based.
Yes.
So far, looking at, and that's why I was asking you this question. If you look at how the cabinet and the government at large has performed, especially after the experts, quote unquote, from the audience side joined the government, how do you rate it? How do you assess it? What's the performance so far?
First of all,
is there anything that has changed that can inspire you?
No, nothing has changed actually. As you can see, we are back to square one. let's go back before the bread-based government was formed. People like Joho, Opio and I, John Badi, Oparanya, they had the nastiest thing to say about President William Ruto. They were so highly critical of it. In fact, Joe even called William Ruto Mwizi. Called him a thief publicly. All those guys had no kind words for William Ruto. But all of a sudden, now that they're in government, they are now praising him. They are now even, I saw the other day to Wajir, Governor Joe, even though he's not part of the pastoralist counties, came all the way to Wajir to deliver a message on behalf of his party leader, who is battling another loss in the AU. So it's just laughable that
and we'll talk about that shortly, but conclude
so it's laughable that the people who are actually so critical of this president all of a sudden are piling praises on him. In fact, I'm sure you've heard that Opio and I want to try and bring back the finance bill through the back door, and now he thinks that it is a better bill. They are all praising him. So honestly, I think with this government and with this presidency, I mean, political dishonesty has just been glorified to another level. So that it's become the norm, custom to just lie and still go back into government and deceive. But what I'm happy about is that it is somehow awakening Kenyans. And I do believe that Kenyans can now see, and I hope going to 2027, Kenyans should now begin to actually interrogate personalities. Not this populism. Guys who are being ferried in wheelbarrows. You don't hear the story of the wheelbarrow anymore. You don't hear the story of bottom-up approach anymore. You don't hear a story about Mama Mboga anymore. Those things have been buried. So political dishonesty has been heightened. Has been glorified to another level. And thanks to this government. And I just hope that Kenyans, sasa wamefunguka macho, they can see it for themselves. And hopefully make the right decision in 2027.
So does it therefore mean that Kenyans have come to that kind of Damascus moment when they realize actually that the problem here would be the caliber of leaders whom we elect?
For me, I'm an optimist. I'm an optimist, but I'm also not just optimistic blindly. I know also that the Kenyan people are very gullible, especially during electioneering time. Our politics has been commercialized. It's who has money, who can be listened. But at the end of the day, it's the Kenyan people who are getting a raw deal. So my prayer is that I hope Kenyans will have opened up their eyes, questioned people's policies keenly, and not just jump into the bandwagon of political populism that does not really bear any fruits to them. I mean, you've seen the scandals of because one of the things that this government is doing is actually sending our most energetic labor out of the country. I don't even know how many. I saw a picture the other day of people who have arrived. Where is it, in Qatar? Or why do you send your best, the young, the most energetic, to go and do menial jobs in those countries? When can they build Kenya? He's running away from the promise that he is going to create jobs. You create jobs in your country so that you build your own economy. You build your own country. You don't send your most youthful, your most energetic out there to go and do menial jobs. Nobody will give them technical jobs. And I wish there were statistics showing that Kenyans actually are doing better jobs out there than just sweeping supermarkets and looking after the old and the elderly, or sweeping the streets.
Okay, Wakili, the president is on record back then condemning what he termed as some sort of a confusion, and he said back then that you would not actually know whether it's the government in opposition or the opposition in government. And I remember him saying very well that at this particular moment in time during his regime, such things would not happen. Right now we've seen him reach out to all these individuals. And what he's saying is that in the spirit of building the nation, then we need to actually encourage unity of purpose. And that is why he's reached to former President Uhuru Kenyatta as well, to Raila Odinga. Why would you then disagree with the president that he's not uniting the country by doing this?
I think I agree that he's uniting the country against himself.
Okay.
The country is united against Ruto. If that is the kind of unity you're talking about, I'm all for it. Yeah, but it's not the opposite. You see, why is Ruto saying that he wants to unite the country? First of all, tell me, what action has President Uhuru Kenyatta taken that disruptive of his government? Even even Raila. As far as I am concerned, I don't even think Raila tried to disrupt this government. It is a Gen Z movement that actually came to disapprove of this government. So him reaching out to Raila is very deliberate. Reaching out to Uhuru is very deliberate because he sees he has lost popularity in certain regions of this country. When he reached out to Raila, he assumes that he now has Luo Nyanza in his pocket. Because his calculation is just about 2027. Has nothing to do with, he doesn't even care about those people from Luo Nyanza. He's reaching out to Uhuru Kenyatta, and people have even said to him openly, hata ukiamusha Jomo Kenyatta kwa grave, as guys have bolted. Some of his friends, I've seen people like Wakili Eddie Muriu of Muranga has left. Kina Dhangwa have left. Kina Ndindi Nyoro, you don't hear them anymore. So those people have left him. So when he talks about unity, I don't know who is uniting. Okay. Yeah, but yeah, like I said, if it's unity of Kenyans against this government, yes, that he has achieved because of his inactions, because of his bad policies, because of his bad decisions. So yeah, Kenyans are united. Now they know for the first time we have a government that is actually anti-us, anti-people. The whole cost of living has been dangled. But the truth for the matter today, uliza anybody in this country, the situation is not good on the ground. That's why I say, when we talk about the state of the nation of Kenya, let's talk about the state of the person. Are people today able to actually afford health care? Can people today send their kids to school? Can they put food on the table? At least even 3 meals a day? The answer is no. Okay. People are complaining all over across. I mean, people are servicing mortgages. Ask the middle class. Times are not good. Ask even people in the public service. The deductions for this affordable housing, for this SHA, is hurting them.
Okay. So for you, the health sector is not actually working, is what you're saying here. And the president here is saying, look, and he's talking about naysayers. He's
called us stupid and he called us mad.
And by the way, the president has been on the receiving end of late due to the kind of language that he uses, especially when he's talking to Kenyans. What does that actually tell you?
He's a frustrated man. William Ruto is honestly frustrated, and I think people are now even doubting his mental capacity. I mean, people are asking those questions, that is he actually well upstairs, So by the time people start questioning, your mental capacity as a president, I mean, you're in trouble. And it's true, yeah, William Ruto is in a state of panic because all of a sudden he realized he took a job that he did not know how to execute. And by the way, let's go back memory lane. Let's remind Kenyans, who is William Ruto? William Ruto is the longest elected politician in the history of Kenya. Did you know that?
Yes.
From 1997, William Ruto has never lost an election. And he has held very critical positions in government, including ministers, assistant ministers, all that, being in opposition. Tell me one transformational thing you can associate him with. Just mention to me one transformational thing you can say, like the way we say Kibaki, CDF, free education. Uhuru, infrastructure. After you expressway, SGR, at least you can say that, put it on Uhuru. Moi, you can say Moi believed in education so much, and he's truly believed. I mean, I was privileged to go to a school where he was the chairman of the board of governors, and he used to come to our school every Friday. That's how passionate that Mzee was in education. William Ruto.
Yes.
Of all those years, what transformational agenda can you associate him with, other than scandals? Scandal after scandal. Maize saga, ni yeye. Mambo grabbing of land, ni yeye. Now people even call him, land grabber, land. I mean, he's associated with all the negative things. Deployment of a policeman to Haiti. Now introducing some funny thing called shashi. People are now even calling it shit shot, whatever. It's just completely, it's so mambo jumbo. The first thing he did when he was sworn in, he went after opposition members so that he can increase his numbers in parliament, so that they can pass whatever legislations, And that, of course, you saw how he even rejected the entire finance bill, even though it was passed. We have got parliament, about 281 of them actually impeaching, confirming impeachment motion of his own deputy president. So he has emasculated parliament for his own personal survival. So if you look at the totality of his leadership and now his presidency, honestly, there is very little to speak of positively.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Dr. I would also love...
He's back into campaign trail. You can see William Ruto is just busy back in the car. When does he work? I mean, I think, probably in Africa, the most traveled president within a very short time, over 50 plus trips. And yet, what is there even to show for those trips? Assuming that you're even signing agreements or collaboration agreements with those countries, what is there to show for Kenyans? People are questioning, other than just expenditure, you know?
Talking of due diligence, because as in the process, as we were talking here, you've said that the government actually does not conduct due diligence when it comes to certain critical issues, and you were particularly referring to the police who are deployed in Haiti therein. But then we've also had issues with this due diligence thing being done by the government, and you remember what happened with the Adani deal and all these things that have been here working. Do you think that perhaps is it that the government is not actually doing the due diligence as required by the law? Or is it that somebody is playing with Kenyans somewhere?
The government is not doing due diligence at all, of course, because I don't think this government believes in the rule of law. And it just didn't start with this government. It also started with the government of Uhuru Kenyatta when they decided to disobey court orders. So this is a government, in my view, that does not believe in the rule of law at all. So, for example, the Adani deal. It says that privately initiated projects, okay? We have the Public Procurement Act in this country that say even when you are going for restricted procurement, you must invite at least three experts in that field. Now, Adani is not a stranger in the world. This man is known to just be a crook. Even in his own native India, they don't want him. You know, he's been sued, I don't know, in Australia, I don't know, in Canada. So why would you hand over the running of your airport, which is actually the entry point for your country, to such a man with a checkered past, a crooked record? America just the other day, indicted him, and that's when now Ruto woke up to realize that I'm going to cancel this, and even then he's been cancelling reluctantly. I'm not even sure he has cancelled actually the health deal. I know he cancelled the electricity one, the supply of electricity, and this monopoly, it's against the due diligence in our laws. So if he had actually done due diligence, Adani will be the person you don't even touch with a 10-foot pole. Yeah.
There are certain Kenyans who believe that the president did not just wake up to get the information about Adani from the Americans, that he was fully aware of what was happening, and still he went ahead.
It's possible. I mean, I don't know. It's possible because, the truth is that even before, I think, this Adani deal, which was sneaked secretly, and thanks to that young brave man, Amenya, for exposing it, of course, some of his emissaries had gone to meet Adani. And that's why you had the stories of money exchanging hands in Dubai, people buying, property in Dubai. So it is true, I think he knew, but he was cutting a deal with Adani. That's not a contract per law. If you look at the contents of that contract, my goodness, it's like we are tied to this man, whether he implements the projects or not, for 30 years. I mean, who does that? Yeah, you'll imagine somebody in the state law office would have gone through that contract. But now we know, even the former Attorney General knew that he was not consulted on that, because I know there's a contracts department within the state law office that actually ought to peruse and do diligence on this contract before they are signed. Obviously, the president was informed. I mean, you don't hand over the airport of your country without actually informing the head of state. Obviously, he knew, and especially since now we know it is privately initiated project, then of course the president was very much privy to who he was entering into this agreement with. After all, it was his man who was at the treasury, at the transport, Murkomen, so. This is obviously a loyalist of the president. So you want to tell me that Murkomen will go to Dubai, meet Adani, conclude a deal without the president knowing? No, hell no. Of course the president knew very much. I think he was just embarrassed when now the Americans went after this man.
Okay. Finally,
and you see, the other thing I want to mention to you is that we're looking at the state of our national and the politics. There is the rise of too much arrogance.
Yes.
Yeah, from the government side. I mean, actually, to the extent that they despise Kenyans. They are so disrespectful of Kenya, to the extent that even when the president is being criticized, he gets angry, he calls people stupid, he calls people mad. I mean, that's not the language of a statesman. You know, and especially when people are questioning your governance, your governance, character. So why will you wake up and call people stupid? The same people that actually voted for you.
Okay.
You know, but that's not language befitting that of a president. And if you look at, for example, if we had a living parliament, of course now we have a dead parliament that is in the pockets of the president. He could be impeached just by dint of Chapter 6, because Chapter 6 says that if you occupy a public office, you should not demean that office. You should not bring disrespect to that office. Now, when the president uses his podium, his presidency, and insults Kenya and calls them stupid, mad, I mean, he's disrespecting, he's demeaning his office.
We are crossing into the third year, of course, of his administration at this particular moment. One of the most critical things that Kenyans opted could actually be solved by this government when it came on board was the issue about corruption. Recently, you've seen the EACC actually prefer charges against certain individuals. And of course, I've seen the name of the Uasin Gishu County Women Representative Gladys Boss Chole, Alex Tolgos, the governor there. It seems like the EACC has decided to go for the big fish at this particular moment. Do you think that perhaps we are in the right trajectory in terms of fighting graft in this country and leading us to the right place?
You know, until I see any of those big fishes go to jail, one of the most lucrative businesses in Kenya today is to investigate corruption. The people who investigate corruption actually now feed from the corruption itself. You have a cop probably whose salary is probably 40,000, going to investigate a thief who has stolen 100 million, 50 million. They will not tell you this. But the same people use that money to actually bribe those cops. They write very shoddy investigation reports. And that's why you can see DPP keeps on dropping, those names. How could we have extradited, what is the name of that fugitive who was hiding in England for a long time? The Triton boss.
Yes.
We extradited him only for his case to be dropped by DPP. And see, now this is the other thing that President William Ruto has done. He picks people he can actually control into very key positions. Like, for example, DPP. If you ask me, as a lawyer of over 25 years now practicing, I don't remember this fellow where he even practices law. But hardly any lawyers remember him. We've never even seen him address court as a director of public prosecution. So he plants guys who cannot actually help hand this theft of public money. And by the way, we should stop calling theft corruption. Let's just call it what it is. New easy. Corruption is theft. When you're given public money and you're not able to account for it, what have you done? You have stolen that money. So I don't even see by the point of having EACC. I don't see it. In fact, what we do is we need to give the police prosecutorial powers, and get the right guys in these places, so that corruption, what you're calling corruption or economic crimes, should just be treated as normal theft. Today if you're a chicken thief, you'll be jailed by tomorrow. But imagine somebody who steals millions and millions of Kenya shillings, public money, goes on for years and then until the case is dropped. So the justice system is not fair, and I think we should remove this thing of economic crimes and make it theft as per the penal code. And that way you're able to nail people. For example, if you look at all governors on all the 47 counties of Kenya and departments of government, including the office of the president itself, when the Auditor General actually pens the report, they are all thieves in equal measure. They're all thieves. And all you need to do, and I work very closely with accountants, all you need to do is ask that auditor, take the stand, testify. Trust me, I don't need even 30 minutes to nail you as a governor, because you said you're going to build Project X. Money was appropriated. The auditor came and spent like 6 months auditing you. 6 months. Even giving you a letter of management, tell you to reply to these audit queries. Okay? By the time he writes the report, he has made findings that money was misappropriated. And on the basis of that, he should be able to nail that person as a thief in a normal court of law under the penal code. But see what do the system do? when Parliament receives the Auditor General report, they convert findings into audit queries. It's like they are now re-auditing the findings. And that's how now these governors get away with this theft of public money, because they're not able to account for this money. And because, we all know that now they also bribe Parliament. So really, we are in a very sorry state of affairs. If we could only just nail a few of those guys, let's send a governor to jail today. But you see now what they do, wakimaliza 2-term yao, they want to go become senators so that they can protect themselves. They still need to hang around power. And you can see most of them are aligning themselves with the government of the day. What does that tell you? It tells you that this government of the day is actually tolerating theft of public resources. Yet you promise Kenyans that once you take over power, you will do this, you will do development, you will do all those kind of things. Why are you palling, collaborating with thieves of public money? It means you're also encouraging it.
Okay. Okay. In the process of our conversation, or in the course of our conversation here, you mentioned the name of the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, the former Prime Minister, and you sarcastically put it here that he's battling failure at the AU. I want us to look at that and his chances. Therefore, you remember recently there was a debate, and of course it caused a lot of division on whether he actually performed as per the expectations of Kenyans therein. But while at it, I would also like us to venture into the diplomatic phase of this particular country, and with the kind of demeanor of our president now that is actually here informed and this is regarded as his candidate at this particular moment in time.
So one of the reasons why Raila will fail, amongst others, and I'll tell you, is because of President William Ruto. The image of President William Ruto continentally and even globally is a very bad one. And that this is his candidate. This is a guy who cannot fight corruption in his own country. He poaches members of the opposition so that he can stay in power. So that alone, William Ruto is contributing to Raila's failure. Number two, he wants Raila out of the political scene because he knows that Raila is the only guy who can cause a lot of disruption because he has sycophantic following. Not that he is also right. He has these sycophantic followers who can actually, just cause havoc, in the governance. And imagine if Raila had actually ganged up with the Gen Zs. I think I'm told Ruto was already in a state of panic. I think rumor has it that he had even been evacuated at some point because the Gen Zs were threatening to storm State House. Now, the other reason why Raila will not get that seat is in terms of qualifications. If you look at the CVs of the candidates, the Youssef Mahmoud of Djibouti stands very tall, and if AUC, African Union Commission, is looking for a competent person. Raila, even by dint of his academic papers, doesn't qualify. So Youssef is a very strong candidate, and I'm sure you have also seen that Kenyans are actually united in support of Mahmoud Youssef, because they are disappointed with Raila for betraying the movement, the opposition movement against William Ruto, and you see, Raila also made some bad decisions. He supported the Adani deal, and Kenyans are like, what? Now all of a sudden Raila has woken up from the opposition to say that I knew Adani in 2019. I don't even think they had met at that time. But he just also lied because now he wants to please President William Ruto. But look, who's now been left with an egg on his face? All of them. When America spoke about this Adani guy, all of a sudden you are dropping. This is why they should have done due diligence on the character of this person. Yeah, but that among other things, like I said, it will be tough for Raila to win that seat.
What did you pick from that particular debate that they had recently regarding his candidature and his maybe possible the possibility of him occupying that particular seat? What did you make of your general assessment of that particular debate?
I think, okay, that seat is very critical in the African continent. I think, commission is an implementing arm of the AU. Although some of the Raila sycophants believe that he's going to be the president of all presidents in Africa. Well, that's what they are saying. They're excited about that. So they don't even know, they don't even understand the structure of the AU. Actually, he'll be working under presidents and even under the Secretary General of the AU. He's just a commission, another of those commissions. There are several of them. So generally, what I picked from I didn't really pick much from the debate as such. I think it wasn't an exciting debate for me. It was very dry. I think from all the three candidates. But I think in terms of the know-how, I think I still hold my view that Yusuf did very well. I know there are people who are saying that we are not patriotic for not supporting one of our own. This is not about patriotism. It's about the continent of Africa. So that's the way we should look at it. This mentality that because one of our own is there, that is the kind of mentality that's actually spoiled this country. That we have one of your own as president. Now, I'm from that region, mtashiba water. That mentality needs to be dropped. We are looking at the continent of Africa. We are looking at Pan-Africanism. So let the best man get the job, because it's about the continent. It's not about my country. It's not about us as Kenyans. It's about the continent of Africa. And that's the way we should look at it. Yeah.
Do you believe it was a wrong political move for Raila to go for that particular seat, owing to the fact that it would mean that he works closely with President William Ruto?
I think it wasn't a wrong decision for him. It was strategic. It was, I think Raila was looking for an exit strategy before 2027. He knows that 2027 nobody. In fact, right now he has even nailed himself more. He knows that 2027 people got tired with him. You can even see even from Bunge la Mwananchi. I don't know whether you watch those debates. I do watch them, and you can see the sentiments of the people. People are feeling generally that Raila has actually betrayed them. Betrayed them, because when he goes, when he went into bed with William Ruto, and by the way, he didn't just start the other day. These people come a long way. Remember the Pentagon? They were together with the Ruto, and as early as is it June of 2023? February 2023. Ruto was already talking to Raila. Yeah, they were already talking to. In fact, I'm told they're in-laws. Yeah. So you can abandon your in-law. You're still related. So I think for me, Raila, for his decision was strategic. How do I exit the Kenya political scene? Because now that it's increasingly becoming, very uncomfortable for him. And I think for Ruto, of course, it was one way of saying, si muliona huyu mzee hata nilimpeleka huko EU, si nilijaribu. Sasa you will say that kama kawaida yake, si mnajua nilifanya hivi, nilimpeleka hata nikampeleka China, kampeleka sijui wapi. He will say all those things. So for him, get msumbufu out of the way, and then of course then he can deal with his cows.
Finally, as we wind up this particular show, for President William Ruto, now that he's the man in charge, recently we've seen him being, I don't know whether I should say that he's at loggerheads with the church or not, but then we've seen the kind of sentiments that are actually coming out from our religious groups. And it has reached a point where we've also seen certain sections and some judges from the judiciary actually come out openly and talk and say, look, you are taking the country in the wrong direction. What would you tell the president at this particular moment, owing to the fact that he's receiving these sentiments, but then it's like he's not actually taking them lightly as he should?
From what I know about President William Ruto, William Ruto likes yes men, yes women around him. And that's part of the problem he had with Gachagua. Because Gachagua is not just a yes person. I'm told Gachagua actually used to oppose some of those things. I mean, in cabinet, which is okay, because you're not going there. I mean, you see, William Ruto is a control freak from the stories that, emanate even from his own inner circle. So, for example, what is the excuse that he has for not appointing IEBC up to now? You see, he's disenfranchising about 1 million Kenyans every year who qualify. Like I'm telling you, my daughter turned 18 this year. She got her ID. I told her, will you go and register to vote? Say, yeah, but I can't. Now they are claiming there is no IEBC. Yet, when Kindiki Kithure was cleared in the wee hours of the morning, there was an IEBC. Because I saw the president's memoranda to parliament showing how IEBC cleared Kindiki. The debate ended about 1 a.m. By, I don't know, 5 or whatever, 6, the president memoranda had already come out indicating that IEBC had actually cleared Kindiki so that they take it to parliament for voting. So where did that IEBC come from? In any case, I don't believe that narrative. It's a false narrative that we don't have an IEBC. We have an IEBC. We may not have commissioners, but we have an IEBC secretariat that does the day-to-day running affairs of the commission. Okay? Things like, for example, just registration of voters. Do you need a commissioner for that? You don't need a commissioner for that. And they are shooting themselves in the foot by saying that we don't have an IEBC yet, same IEBC. You see, there are many by-elections that are supposed to be conducted, wards, constituencies. So you're denying those people a representation. So if President William Ruto really believed in the rule of law, he would have speeded up. I mean, the same way he's cajoling parliament, surely he could still reach out to his colleagues. After all, it's in the best interest of everybody that we have an IEBC. I don't know what else you're asking. Oh, the church. So if you look at, for example, the messaging from the church, from the judiciary, some of the Supreme Court judges have spoken, like Justice Isaac Lenaola, questioning why we do not have an IEBC. You know, this is a matter of the rule of law, the constitution. So it just shows you this disapproval generally of this presidency. And I think rather than listen in, you know, it tries to get some of the members of the clergy. You saw the other day after the outro from the Catholic Church, the AIC and others, the Olesapit and the rest. He called some of those merchants, like Mark Karaoke, Bishop Mark Karaoke, and others into status. So he's fighting back. And there's no point of him fighting back, saying that even if you disapprove of me as Catholics or as Presbyterians, you know, I got these other evangelicals who are basically just merchants. You know, those guys, I don't even know what miracle they have ever performed. They're just lying to Kenyans that they perform miracles, you know, all the time. I don't know why Jesus fed a multitude of, I don't know what, is it 5,000 people with only two fishes and 2 loaves of bread, you know, from the Bible. But the opposite obtains today. These bishops, they drive Range Rovers. It is the poor actually who feed them. I mean, the opposite of what Jesus Christ, Christianity was all about. Yeah.
On the issue of IBC's constitution of the commission, the government is actually saying here that it's the numerous court cases that have been put forth that is actually preventing the reconstitution of this particular commission. Do you buy that kind of idea, or you still maintain the fact that maybe it could be the lack of goodwill from the government side?
There is no goodwill from the government. In fact, I suspect that some of those cases are actually sponsored by the government themselves, just to stall the whole process of IBC. Because at the end of the day, it will be about who they put into that place so that they can manage the election in 2027. It is all deliberate. I mean, even in a contentious issue like that one, you can always enter into a consent for the sake of the country. I don't think judges are unreasonable not to allow a consent so that this important constitutional commission can go on registering in Kenya so that they can exercise their rights under Article 37, Article 88 of the Constitution. You know, it's deliberate. There is no goodwill on the part of government, for sure. That I can tell you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Wakili. As we wind up this show, at least we are at this festive moment, and of course, I'm aware that Kenyans are gearing up for the Christmas or holidays at this particular moment. Maybe you give us your last word, or rather final. Is it the final or the last word?
Well, maybe the last word, not final. I just want to wish Kenyans a Merry Christmas, and hopefully we will now have really analyzed this government. You've seen where it has taken us from the 2022 up to now. I think my reading is that Kenyans are tired. They think that they cannot wait until 2027. As a matter of fact, we want to bring back Punguza Mizigo, and we want to amend Article 1 and Article 145 of the Constitution of Kenya, where actually Kenyans can now exercise their power directly. And the only way they can exercise directly is through impeaching or firing an employee. And this employee is the government, is the president, because they are holding that power, you know, in trust. But when they abuse that power, so the will of the people really must reign supreme. And I think for me, I'm reading a lot of that. People are encouraging me to bring back Punguza Mizigo. But we really need to amend now the provisions of the Constitution that gives the sovereign authority back to the people.
Is Punguza Mizigo really coming back?
I want to bring it back.
When?
Next year.
next year.
Yeah.
So we'll have
and,
it here.
and we hopefully, if we can do a referendum before 2027, because I also don't believe in this large parliament that we have. It's just gobbling billions and billions of Kenya shillings. There is no value addition at all. These are just extension of the president's office. So they have lost the three cardinal duties of representation, oversight, and legislation. We don't see that anymore. Bad laws are being passed in parliament that are actually hurtful to Kenyans. So I think we need to go for a very lean, working parliament. And I think there is consensus across the board that that's the way to go. Yeah.
So if Punguza Mizigo actually sails through, then we may actually witness certain change in our governance in this particular country.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. I've been having this wonderful conversation on the state of the nation with the party leader of Third Way Alliance, Honorable Wakili Daktari Ekuru Aukot, at this particular place in time. You may tune in and you may actually weigh in our conversation and tell us what you think about what he's just said here. Allow me to stop this conversation at this particular moment, but thank you for being with us. Thank you for subscribing to this particular channel, and thank you for being part of this family. Till we have this conversation again, have yourself a lovely day. Happy New Year and Merry Christmas. My name is Evans Okenye.
Step into Brooklyn Boutique in Juja today at JB Stores, first floor in Juja. Discover the latest women's fashion in jewelry, clothes, shoes, bags, and purses. Call us today at 0721 348 629. Brooklyn Boutique, where style meets elegance.